the savings in SACCOs grew exponentially. You may go with the Business Daily, what is holding. This was on Monday. SACCOs win as members' savings grow to 766 billion shillings. That was the story, and it says the Treasury credits strict governance rules for growth as analysts link it to higher dividend payouts as well. That was on the front page of the Business Daily. Right, let's just leave it at that and move on. McFie, you raised a point on the housing, of course, crisis that we are in right now. And the number of properties going under the hammer has been on the rise, with auctioneers paying up to 6 to 7 pages in the dailies to list what they have available for sale. Owners of residential houses and commercial properties have found themselves in situations where the amount of money they owe banks is much higher than the revenue they receive from either selling or offering their real selling or renting their real estate. To the latest banking industry report, of course, from the Central Bank of Kenya, this is the revelation that is coming to the fore. According to property expert, the property market is gaining its real value as opposed to the overrated prices in the last decade or so, where properties were sold for more than double their real market value. So the question is the market self-correcting itself from the bloated prices as it is right now? Let's hear from Dr. Caesar Mwangi.
Yeah, the housing market. In fact, there has been a huge hype around the prices of houses. And I think they've been overvalued personally. That is my view. They've been overvalued, certainly. And I think there is now the reality coming to dawn that the amount of money you spend on that property is not worth what it really was. And hence these default situations. But again, it goes back to the problem that was pointed out here. I think that the government is not paying their debts. So people don't have the money. They're not getting the business they expected. Every time you make an investment decision, the first thing that you do is make a projection into the future. And that projection will tell you whether you shall be able to repay that loan or not. Okay?
But that is not exactly true, because now government is paying their debt. Recent report. Just a moment. It says that, of course, the liquidity in the market has increased because of the government payments and the debt maturities as well. I mean, that is the latest. Since the pronouncement that we had that the government will be paying the pending bills.
How recent was that? Okay, some of these loans were taken 2-3 years ago. Okay, and now the repossessions are taking place now. The defaults are happening now after the fact that the loans were taken a few years ago, and they were taken on the back of an assumption that I do business. Part of the business I do perhaps is with government, and I expect to make so much money, and I'll be able to recover whatever loans I'll be able to repay whatever loans I've taken from the business that I do. Now, if that does not happen, then you'll find that the security you put up, which is the house or whatever, is going to be repossessed now. So your projections are not working out. That means the decision that you took was a bad decision at the end of the day. So I think that there is a correction factor, and in fact, property prices are actually coming down in reality. Yeah. They are actually coming down.
Correct.
It is now a buyer's market. Anybody who has money and is able to get into the property market will get a good deal.
Wait. Yeah. Don't buy yet.
Yeah.
Wait.
Don't buy further.
Don't buy. You don't think this is a good time?
They will go down further.
They will go down further.
Yeah. But I think there's a couple of things that are probably hidden behind this whole thing. I always believe in the cement index as being the reality of growth in this country, not the GDP and everything else.
Yes.
The grey economy of this country was what was driving the property boom. There was a lot of money being laundered. People were making exorbitant money through corruption and stuff like that. So there was money available that was nothing linked to banks, lending, whatever it was. It was just guys laundering money and building. You also had all these people who are benefiting from the same thing, who are flush with money, and they're looking for places to live. So they were actually fueling that rise, this bubble that was growing. And I think it was based on this, just the availability of corruption money, for want of a better word. Both for the guys who are trying to launder their building and the guys who got money who want to live better and bigger lives. So the two of them were basically fueling each other and led to this bubble growing. And people thought, great, this thing is going to grow. So even people who had good money did exactly what Caesar was talking about. You look at that curve, you look at the projection and everything else and say, let me put my money here. So some guys put good money after bad. Right? The guys who put corrupt money in there, for them there's no problem. They're not paying any interest rates and so forth and so on. They can afford to see the thing coming down. For them, the property is there. Eventually, whatever they earn for themselves is good. The guys who put good money into that place are the guys who are suffering now. And until this whole thing corrects itself, and the availability of free money in the economy, which was not gained through proper labor, is mopped up, this is going to continue dropping down until we get to the right kind of spending power that Patrick Obath, the average employee, has. And then it will bottom out. And then we'll begin to establish the new benchmark for property in this country. So I think we're basically on a free fall at the moment. And as I think, as Jim and Caesar said, wait. Wait, because the free fall is going to, is still got quite a long way to go. Because if you look at the average Kenyan, the middle class, right? And I'd like to just extend the argument a little bit further.
Yes.
The demise of people like Nakumat.
Yes.
And all these other sort of FMCG organizations that are having problems is because they had a model of the average Kenyan middle class on a global basis. The Kenyan middle class person owns a house, owns a car, but has no money to spend. Whereas in the rest of the world, they own a house, they own a car, and they have money to spend. And so we are all basing our sort of projections on this ideal of a middle class person. And until the Kenyan middle class has a house, has a car, and has money to spend, a lot of different sectors of the economy are actually going to be impacted in a similar manner. So this, I think, for me, is just an indicator that even when you're going to invest in other parts of the economy, you have to be very, very careful of the metrics that you use to try and project where that particular service or activity you're trying to invest in is going to go. So prudent investment in this country, even though people are saying come and invest in Kenya, you really have to be careful of the metrics that you're using to decide whether you want to invest or not. So this property thing, I think, for me, is a bellwether, it's an indicator that the economy, across the whole economy, we really have to be very, very careful as to how we look at our investments.
All right, and a lot of distress selling as well. As you mentioned, this is not a good time to actually buy this property or properties because it's bound to go down and down and down. And even from Runda, I had a friend just telling me the other day, properties there could now even go down as up to 20 million shillings. Right from Riverside here, a property that is maybe worth 40 million shillings, it was going for 15 million shillings. And even then it came and bargained for 9 million shillings or thereabout. And this guy actually took the 9 million shillings, right? It goes to really show how things are really dying, especially in that particular segment as it is right now.
But there's a very interesting article I think we should read. The Economist of January 18th to 24th, actually talking about the horrible housing. It's actually kind of go through it. It's very interesting in terms of when you look in terms of this, if the house, suppose a ratio of 1 to 5, that if I'm earning, I can buy a house 5 times my salary, but here we find it's 7 up there. And I think it's something perhaps in waiting, and I think the point we are raising, I think the pirates' money also played a lot. A lot in terms of the whole housing sector in this
Somali,
country.
Sudan, you name it, the works, everything else, all that money was coming to this country.
Yes. And I think there's a word here probably, if you look in terms of our housing, we never came with decent, affordable housing. They were high class, kind of. Because decent, affordable housing is probably not that most people are not going for that. But there's a linkage here, and I think we have, even when you interrogate one of the big 4, housing should come after you are producing, you are manufacturing. So the workers are looking for somewhere to really sleep. But if the economy is not going in terms of creating opportunities for employment or coming their businesses, it really doesn't match. One drives the other.
But where does the man live when he's working to produce? He's got to have a place to live. So he needs a house.
I probably could not look a house first if I have no gainful employment or have no business. First, we must look at what are the fundamentals we need to do so there is more people producing and then when they produce their savings, and then look for housing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that depends on the government paying its bills.
Yes.
I sing that song, but you know, because you've got to remember directives. You know, it's very interesting to see in one of these newspapers on the front of the Business Daily, Matiang'i is leaning over a counter, okay, interrogating someone in the immigration department. Matiang'i does his job. What about all the other people there? You know, do they do the work? You know, I know a lady, okay, who she inherited a property from her father 5 years ago. You know, they can't change the name of the property. She can't get the thing sorted out by the KRA. You know, very often functions of government don't work. And when I talk to members of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants about sustainability, they say, McFie, you're talking to the wrong audience. Go and talk to the government. They have clients who are going bankrupt because the government has not paid its bills. There are unpaid bills of several years ago. Meru County owes a contractor there, I know, 40 million shillings. There's one of my past students, Evelyn Ikwe is her name, that she's owed 9 million shillings by Vihiga County. They haven't paid her.
Right.
You know? So come on, you know, we have to be responsible in Kenya.
Thank you. Thank you, McFie. And of course, this is what also Dr. Gituro Wanaina was alluding to, the latest copy of Economist. This is not the latest, actually, in January. Just recently, the horrible housing blunder, why the obsession with home ownership is so harmful. This was a special report as well. And maybe we need to reorient maybe our thinking in terms of investment also in this country, that it doesn't have to be, you know, land, moda, don't have a piece of Kenya.
The Kikuyus come out of this guy.
And,
because the Kikuyus love land.
They love land. That is